Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Christian Stovall, the American Heiress. I'm the founder of the Foundation for American Indian Restoration and Education, also known as the FAIR. Welcome. Hello. Hey, what's good, Real Lives? Welcome. Hey, you guys. So there's a lot I want to talk about today. I'm going to give us a second to tune in, you guys. Please like the video, share. We're going to listen to a little bit of Sam Kendrick. I'll tell you guys, it's been crazy trying to go live today. I was determined though. Okay. Interesting. Also, intuition is very high at this moment. So listen to your gut. Hey, I love you too. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you for your patience as we grow and transform and go on these journeys. Because that's really what it's been. This this isn't no, though we're on YouTube or whatever. This isn't like this is a YouTube channel, but it's not I don't know. This journey, it's like I'm like on this mission, and it's like my real life, and not everything is for the internet. So I appreciate you guys like rocking with me for all this. I got you, and I have some new ones too. But more than that, I'm realizing that it's like now more than ever, do we need to claim our Aboriginal titles or just original titles, but because of recent rulings. Hey, welcome everybody. Maybe I should start over. So I realize some people might be tuning in. You guys don't know who I am or what I'm even talking about. Exactly. Realize. So what's going on is, and I guess I can just speak personally. Okay, that's what's really cool about it is each person has a personal story, right? And through the colonization of the world, okay, a lot of those stories have been stripped from us. We have forgotten who we were, who we are, and we have been so disconnected from history that we have no clue what time it really is, okay? And specifically as it pertains to myself and what I've understood about American history and who Black people in America truly are, it really started with me doing my genealogy. And if you guys aren't familiar, if you guys don't know what genealogy is the study of one's, lineage, their family tree, themselves going back, like who are your parents, who are their parents, who are their parents, and going on and on and on, right? And what I found when I started to, get deep into my tree and going back generation and generation and generation is that my ancestors weren't they weren't from Africa. They were actually Aboriginal free inhabitants who were already here in America. Okay. And through that, I started to realize that the free inhabitants here, in America that were found by the settlers were reclassified into colored and Negro and Black, and now they're calling us African American. But that's really a misnomer, and it's feeding into this intentional narrative that the colored population, so-called colored population here in America, were brought here on slave ships from Africa, which is a lie. The truth is America was inhabited with people that were considered colored, who were free. And this is backed up. And so when I started to understand this, right, this is through, census records. We get into, the definition of American, and we get into like an emblem of America. Let me start showing you guys a little bit. I'm feeling the answers. They're like, oh, girl, it's been a long time. We've been wanting to talk. Okay. We have so much to say. All right. Because we have been silenced for such a long time. And now there's this huge misinformation train of indigenous people from other parts of America who want to discredit us. And mind you, within that same token, there are, I'm sure, many indigenous nations that aren't of the woodland tribes who I'm sure would uplift the truth as well. So that's just that. But what I'm trying to say is this. Is because I have understood all of these things, I have created this nonprofit foundation to help other people understand exactly who the original Americans are. Like I said, who have been misclassified as color, Negro, African American, Black, right? And so that we can correct history, so that we can stand in our proper place here in America, so that we receive our restitution and our reparations, so that we can reconnect to our land and resources, so that we can heal our nation. Hey, what's good, Chief Jonesy? So, if you've never heard any of this before and you're like, how are you even coming, with this, Black people have always been here and that we were the original ones. Well, it's very clear when you start to look at just the facts. Okay. So for instance, one second. Okay. Okay, for instance, the census records. I'm this quick so I can see. Did you know that during the first 70 years of the U.S. Census, there were only two categories for race and ethnicity? Those options were listed as colored or Negro, and then white. Okay, and mind you, the colored category were all other free persons. So all of the free inhabitants were considered what they're putting here as Black or colored. Okay. The other people who were here were white. Okay. Now that is also reflected in Let me show you. So this is 1790. Let me finish this one and then we'll move on to what's next. I'm like, there's so much I want to say. Okay. Chill out. All right. So we have the 1800s. It was still just white and colored. Okay. With a huge population of the people free. Now, mind you, the free population dwindled as the years went on, and the slave population grew, not because we were being imported, it's because the free inhabitants started to contract themselves with the settlers, okay, into a colonial sort of feudal system. Now, I know maybe I should have started and eased this in, but it's like we have to start to understand really what's going on here in America, because liberation is at hand. Things are crazy, and actually, in all actuality, people don't have the right to take away any sort of resource from any of the people here that call themselves American. Okay. And not just that, the fact that that this has been hidden and nobody knows who we are is crazy. Okay. And so we're going to take the time to really lay it out plainly. All right. So 1800s still colored in black and white. Okay. 1810, 1820, 1830, 1840s, 1850s. Okay. So mind you, in the 1850s, we start to see more, okay, options within the black or colored category. Okay. There's mulatto and mulatto slaves. Okay. What are mulattoes? Mulattoes were the mixtures in between the once, okay, just colored and white categories. 1850, they started to recognize the people who were mixed, okay? And then in 1860, there was the creation of the category Indian, okay? And Indian was created so that the people, the mixed, the mulattoes, okay, and their white parentage could claim the land and the heritage American. Okay, now when we look at the definition of American, it's going to become even more clear. Let's show you. Okay, no. Look at that. So American is a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, okay, or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America, okay? Now, this is from the Webster's Dictionary, 1828. Now, when I'm saying we're looking at the census records, and at first it was just colored and white, that is reflected in American, okay? When we look, it was originally applied to the Aboriginals, okay? The free inhabitants, the people they were calling colored or black, okay? The copper-colored, all right, races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to descendants of Europeans born in America. Now, that started to happen with the creation of Indian, okay? Now, what's crazy about it is there's been just so much misrepresentation of the imagery of, Aboriginal people here in America because it is really a stolen identity. And I say that because, originally, the American Indians were very, very dark-skinned and with full figure lips. I mean, let me show you guys even the emblem. Let me show you. So an emblem of America is an allegorical figure representing the American peoples depicted in 1801 with symbolic elements of strength and resilience, okay? This was first published by Haynes and Son in London in 1798, okay? Now, when you go to the BritishMuseum.org, it mentions that she is an ethnic representation of American people. Okay, it's an emblem of America. And let me show you. Or we can take a look at the definition of the N-word. A dark-skinned person of any origin in early U.S. used usually with reference to American Indians, usually offensive. Okay. Now, so in the past, when people were saying the N-word and they were calling N-word, we're looking at the American history and the colored and white signs. People need to understand that the original communities and people were Black, and when we're looking at that whole dynamic, that was the colonization, the encroachment of our towns, our lands. You know what I mean? And our ancestors were dealing with crazy stuff. So the reason why we're getting into all of this, okay? So how do we know that these Americans, from like the definition of American, or the N-word, or American, how do we know that those people are the Black people today? Now, so this is the part that I need everybody to really pay attention to. Let me explain. So if you've been watching for a while, you guys know it's I've been trying to get this information out for a very long time about ancestry.com. Okay, so there are a couple of different parts of the ancestry.com DNA test results. Okay, there are the ethnicity estimates that are telling Black Americans that they are from Africa, but then there is another portion of the test called DNA regions. Okay, now what we find in the DNA regions, or the DNA journeys, okay, are Indigenous Americans, for Indigenous American North. Okay, they say that there aren't any Native American communities. Okay, if you look through the whole list, and you guys can go, if you want, go on FAIR Rules. It's in this little ticker at the bottom, FAIRE rules, rules.org. If you go to that website and you go to All About DNA, it'll take you here, or you can just go to ancestry.com and look through their DNA map. Okay, if you want to go and search it, anybody can search this information. But what we find is that there are actually two different types of communities, okay, listed for Indigenous America's North. There are the African American communities, okay, and then the European settler communities. Now, what's interesting about that is it's like, for there to be only two communities connected to DNA, okay, Ancestry.com, they're making a clear distinction between these two groups by giving the nationality American, okay, to the original inhabitants, who they are now calling African Americans. Just like we see in the census records, okay, just like we see in the definition of American, the original Americans were the colored people. And the, our towns, our communities, these are the only American communities for these lands. Okay. And our lands are being encroached by the settlers, those who are now calling themselves American per the definition. Okay. We can look at Texas and Arkansas and Oklahoma, and this gets down to the county. Tennessee, Delaware and the Chesapeake Bay, Georgia and Florida, Louisiana. So I want to start to talk about this more and get into it because, British Columbia and Canada has just ruled that Aboriginal title, let me see if I can share that with you. Aboriginal title trumps, okay, any sort of colonial deed, okay? Aboriginal title refers to the legal right of Indigenous peoples to own ancestral lands, a right that is constitutional protected under Section 35 of the Constitution Act, okay? Now let me show you guys. So this is huge in the news right now. Because of this ruling, everybody is frightened because what does this mean for personal or private property? Okay. And now they have gotten so the city is trying to appeal it. But what it is it is usurping everybody who has invested in private property, because it's like at the end of the day, what's crazy about the situation and why, and indigenous people all over the world have been marginalized and silenced and um, stripped of their heritage and their lands, is because nobody would be able to capitalize off of the land, okay, including real estate, including, thank you, Blue Tinsel. This is real. This is the rise of the royals, okay. Including what do you call that? Just anything. Nobody would be able to. People are profiting off of land that is stolen. So if the land actually goes back, okay, to the Aboriginal people, to the indigenous folks of these lands, then there's going to be crippling, okay, to these cities and local economies. And it's like nobody like, okay, so so that's what's so funny is this. So we look here at the Musqueam. I don't know, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, and if not, much what do you call it? No disrespect, okay. They are now trying to appeal. So they're the tribe saying, oh, we want to appeal this. We didn't really want to, cause any trouble. We didn't mean to basically trump all of these companies and corporations, which are fake. And so that's what's interesting. It's like we have to really see how, because it's there's so much I want to say. I'm wanting to, but see, that's what it is. Maybe that's the same. The truth of the matter is that as Indigenous people claim their Aboriginal title, which trumps anything, because we are connected to the land, we are connected to the Most High, we are connected to, time immemorial. It becomes a threat to colonial powers who depend on us not being connected to anything. So that we'd be in a constant state of having to work for our birthright. Hold on one second. So I think maybe even these tribes and people, that's what they feel. They're like, I don't want to seem like I'm threatening anything or I'm trying to take anything away from people. But if our own just a natural being and birthright and saying that we're here first, if that is taking away from people, then people need to find something else to do. Because there's nothing wrong with us claiming our Aboriginal titles. And maybe the more that we do that, we will show other Indigenous nations, First Nations, what it looks like to stand in sovereignty and in our divine right and power. I'm looking, reading through comments. Okay. Hey, it was good. What's good, Mom and Mike? Happy belated birthday. Welcome, Blue Tinsel. So, right now there's so much that I want to do with the foundation, and I'm realizing it's like, there's no better time than now to focus, to get start to not only, because it's like not to get it started, but as far as return to the public ministry, so that more of you guys can join in and fulfilling the mission of reasserting the original Americans, as part of the Indigenous American people. Okay. And what was I gonna say about that? So what would you what's the proper term, Blue Tinsel? Oh, how was your birthday? Let me know. Oh yeah, because what I was gonna say, so while you're letting me know that, because I'm trying to remember where I was going with that, also about the public ministry, is because it's all hands on deck, right? At this point, there's so much that needs to be done. We need to make our presence known. We need to advocate for ourselves, as it, because it's like this. We can't be mad that we can't even, we can't expect other people to claim our rightful place for us. Okay. We're gonna have to do that for ourselves, and that's what we're aiming to do with the fair, is to be able to lay out this foundation for other Black Americans to be able to say, what, actually, I'm an American. We don't need to add any of these other things. So we can set the record straight. We can explain what was going on in the South about the lynching and the no colored signs, and explain that was actually them just encroaching on land. And it's deep. Okay, so I want to play some of these videos. And that's awesome. May you have a successful and prosperous and abundant year, and more. It was good, old head. Says exposing the history of immigration exposes them all. Hey, what's good, American? Welcome, you guys. So yeah. Black Americans, what we really need is, we just need to be able to truly understand that we are the Americans. And when I say Americans, I'm talking about, the 1828 Webster's Dictionary definition of American, okay, originally applied to the Aboriginals or the copper-colored races, okay, American. And then, like I said, when it comes to the DNA test, which is really discouraging a lot of Black Americans from being able to claim this, that's why it's so important that we share, we come together, we get some Google ads going. I'm going to be working on that more. But we need people. We need all hands on deck. We need, folks to help with the graphic designer, whoever can help create some of these ads and stuff like that. Locally, wherever, however we get this done, but I'm back on that because I'm realizing it's like things are so slow. If I'm trying to, things have to be delegated. Okay. And that's why it's like, this is a platform to, address the truth, but it's a place for all of us to gather, those of us who have been called to help spread the truth, regardless really of background. Because I've even noticed on this journey that some of our greatest allies aren't necessarily, original Americans. Okay. Or not at all. Not even necessarily. They're not original Americans at all. Okay. And they're not claiming to be either. And so it's like, as long as people are willing to help do the work to get things going, then that's what's up. But like I said, and ancestry.com, okay, we're finding out. Yeah. And then I'm about to get going because I got to go. And then we can come back a little bit later. I'm opening the doors of communication so I can come in, and it won't be so few and far between, of me doing these and talking to you guys. Because it's very important. I realize it's like, the more that we get into this, the more we just have to pour our energy into this, okay? So that the ancestors can do what they do. Some are mixed lineage, some are mixed with Semitic lineage, not only Semitic, so then it goes by the mom. Semitic and Semitic lines. Oh, I'm loving this. I love all the biblical drops, okay? This is very important. I feel like, there's so many different, aspects to the truth, and we're looking at it through different lenses, which all shed a unique light and understanding of who we are, and again, what time it really is. So but like I said, for this area, there aren't any Native American communities. Why? Because, even according to the census, really there's only colored and white for the first 70 years. Those were the original communities. There was either a black part of community, a white community, and then in the 1850s, we started to see, and I'm sure before, a little bit here and there, but there was more of the established and documented mulatto communities, the mixed people, who then, and you'll see that, okay? So even if you look at like, dang, I wish I had some of these queued up, but if you look at some of these, like, just anything, look at tribal records, tribal maps and stuff like that. There will be, sections of yada yada tribe half-breeds. Okay, those were the mulatto communities. And that's why after 1850, where they documented the mulatto communities, okay, for the first time. Prior to that, just colored and white. Ooh, mulatto pops up. Then all of a sudden, the American Indian shows up, okay? And really what we're seeing is then they whitened themselves out, and really what's going on is these settler communities, okay, right? So reflected in DNA, there's no Native American, because the Native American are just mixed. So what I'm also saying is that if we went to like some of these reservations of these lands, okay, and we gave them ancestry.com DNA tests, there's only two options that they would be. They would either be in an African American community, the free inhabitants, or they would be a settler. And so some of them might have mixed heritage. Their communities might show up, some African Americans, some settlers, which I would be expected, okay? And then some of them would just say settler, because that's really what's going on. Is there is a lot of of white America who claims themselves to be indigenous Americans. And they are banking, and that's the whole entire reason why they have created this narrative that we are from Africa and stuff, because it's like both of us can't claim American, which we can. And that's what's so crazy about it, is it's like, why do you have to really try to kill the original to it's just the identity theft is insane. But they felt like, if the colored people were the original Americans, then we would look really silly calling ourselves American Indian. So by telling us that all of this, what video was that? Let me see if I have that. Give me a second, you guys. It was a woman. She was talking about back in the days of the plantations and the thoroughbreds, everything, was thoroughbred and it was lovely. We lived amongst the colored people, and then even thinking about bussing in things, why was it just colored and white? Do you understand what I'm saying? There was no other people. The people that the settlers lived amongst were Negroes. And that's part of this great American sin that nobody wants to talk about. That's another reason why they wanted to be like, you guys just think you're from Africa and shut up. Because otherwise, everybody would know that really during colonization, we came here and we found these Negro people, colored folks, okay? And we learned their customs and ways, and then we killed them off and took their towns. And then made them contract, okay, like the original contracts with the treaties and then beyond, okay, contract into the system so that they can pay taxes. What's so crazy is we had helped fight, some of us, I mean, when wars happen, factions, tribes, clans sometimes get split down the middle of who wants to fight for what. And that's where we're at even right now. We don't know what to do. Even just the American people, okay? No matter where you're from, no matter if you're an immigrant or whatnot, everybody's divided. Should we vote Democrat? Should we vote Republican? When in all actuality, they're two different sides of this fraudulent bird who was operating off of land that the system doesn't really own. Because it belongs to the people, the Aboriginal people, who we are finding out are the colored folks. And we are owed so much. And this all could be over if we organize and we come together and we have action plans on how we're going to make our voices heard, not just online, but in our communities. How are we going to show up on the world stage? How are we going to finally represent our American ancestors? Those people called colored, Negro, those who fought and died for the land and this nation that was built before any white folks ever showed up here. Our towns, our trade routes, but I felt like there's been so much who doesn't want me to tell this, who doesn't want me to start to talk again. And I just refuse. So even if we chat about it for a little bit, that's what we're just going to do. Oh, interesting, Blue Tinsel. I'm looking at it's the men who mixed out that created the imposters. The men, huh? Well, yeah. That's so interesting that you say that now that I think about it. There's a lot for us to unravel, document, and stand on, okay? For those of you guys, like I said, if this is your first time ever hearing, you want to take a look at the what the fair stands on in a concise way. I will play the video really quickly, and then I'm gonna get out of here. I'm wondering if I should I didn't want to fucking be on for such a long time. I can even come back after. Let me get this one going, and then I'll
Who are the original Americans? History has been rewritten, but the truth remains. The foundation for American Indian restoration and education, or simply the FAIR, is here to set the record straight. Our foundation is simple. The FAIR stands on its signature original American identifiers to define what an original American truly is. Our mission is to uncover the truth, reconnect descendants, and restore a lost heritage. Through our FAIR original American identifiers, we reveal the true identity of the original American. The emblem of America. The emblem of America is an allegorical figure from the British Museum and is noted to be an ethnic representation of the American people. So what exactly is an American? The definition of American. The 1828 Webster's Dictionary defines an American as a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginal, or copper-colored races, found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Colonial and U.S. Census records. Early U.S. Census records show that for the first 70 years, only two racial categories existed: colored and white. Who were these colored people? The FAIR asserts that they were the original inhabitants of this land. DNA. Ancestry.com DNA analysis labels the only communities for the region of indigenous North America as either African American or European settler. Surprisingly, there aren't any Native American communities listed for these lands, leaving the African American communities the only ones given the nationality American, proving that those labeled as African American today are the true original Americans. Your ancestry holds the key. The FAIR encourages everyone to research their genealogy, connect with historical records, and rediscover their true roots. Every generation carries a piece of the story, one that deserves to be reclaimed. Join us in reclaiming history. Visit the FAIR today. Connect with your roots and restore your identity.
Okay, guys. So you guys can find us at Fair Rules. Visit us at Fair Rules, FAIRE Rules, RULES.org. There's more videos like that. We're on YouTube, Fair Rules. Yeah, that's it. Just Fair, FAIRE Rules. If you guys need to reach out, just email me at christianstovall@gmail.com. Oh, there's some cute merch on the FAIR now. If you guys want to support, we have like little metal bookmarks, notebooks, some shirts, sweaters, and stuff like that. Posters, things like that. So you guys check that out. Oh, also, if you guys ever wanted to see the play that I've written called We Was Here First, and it details my ancestry, and it's a woman and her daughter. praying to their ancestors, to be connected to their roots, and they're thinking they're going to be connected to Africa, but real historical figures who are part of my bloodline from each century, spanning 400 years, okay, because the 400 years are up, come and teach them a little something about, who they are and, their history. And that is also now available on the fair website, fairrules.org. If you guys want to check that out, feel free to. And I'm going to be back soon. I love you guys. I love you so much. You guys let me know if there's anything specific that you guys want to talk about that needs to be stated. Any, videos. It's a recording of a live stage play. So we premiered and workshopped it at the San Francisco International Arts Festival back in May. And so it's a live stage play. It's a recording of one of the nights. And yeah, so you guys can support. That's what we are, that's something else that the fair does, is we support, art, anything really. If you are wanting to, help to spread the word of who we are in whatever ways that you do, the fair is here to do that. The fair is here to support families and, bloodlines and reclaiming their identity and their heritage and their land. But the fair has to be filled with each one of you guys. You know what I mean? We have to start. We have to answer the call. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh yeah. So you're talking about Old Head says all the crops we farmed long before they came and how they used it against us. Yes, he's talking about like how we, became, servants, sharecroppers, enslaved, quote unquote, in this, this mercantile economy. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Because they wanted to make profit off of the crops and stuff. So these are stuff that we are farming. So that's another way to look at it. So what we got to understand is it's like, they say, oh, we brought you here, you became our slave. That's not really what happened. Is really what they did is they made deals with our ancestors and things that we were already doing. Like we would tend to our crops, we would harvest our own crops. They were our farms, they were our plantations. And what they were doing is saying, okay, well, we're making this deal or agreement with you. Sometimes after like coming here, burning down stuff, and it's like, oh, we're going to make a peace treaty now. Let's be friends. Okay. We know we're not going to leave. We, you know what I mean? We've been trying to kill you guys off and stuff like that. But then, part of the treaty would be that it's like, we give them a percentage of crops or we pay them tribute, which is like the start of how we became taxed. But it's like, even when you look at like, do you guys understand what I'm saying? So it's like, the Indians were not supposed to be taxed. Okay, so this is a big serious situation, because it's like Black people, especially right now, those of us who are in politics and whatnot, it's very important that we understand these things, because otherwise we're playing around. And that's what it is. It's like once we got contracted in, we lost our Aboriginal title. Okay, that gets, who was that talking about the Disney references earlier? Is that Real Lives? Even if we look at the Descendants, the movie Descendants, they talk about that, about how, the Descendants are, we're talking about the Disney franchise, okay? The Descendants were all of the villains' kids, okay? We're looking at like Cruella de Vil's kids, Jafar's kid, Maleficent's daughter, okay? The Evil Queen's daughter, okay? All of these villains' children, because they always made the original people, okay, that they've stolen stuff from, the villain, okay? And that's really narcissistic projection when you think about it. Not to but I'm just saying, like, but when they get to, so the whole entire first movie of the Descendants franchise or whatever, they talk about how the villains were banished to the Isle of the Lost, okay? which is the ghetto. And they don't have any resources and they're lost there. And it's like, you know, a dark situation. And then, you know, the whole entire thing is about them now integrating some people into Ardon. So they take some of a choice few of these villains kids and say, we're going to put you into, you know, mainstream society in Ardon, okay, which is white society. It's the integration story, okay? All of these Disney movies, not all of them, but there's a huge percentage of them that talk about this. But when they get there, long story short, they one of them was like, you know, oh yeah, I'm a princess or whatever, because my mom was the queen. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, your royal status, that you're basically your Aboriginal status, your royal status, okay, whatever. Either way, right? Even though I know it gets specific, okay, and when we get into legalese and if we're having to redraw up contracts, we'll get into that right now. But I'm just saying, just for the purpose of me talking, right? Your royal status doesn't matter here, okay? So once we got into the system, you know, the thing that we should be able to stand on our birthright, our royal status, our Aboriginal titles, you know what I mean, were no longer available. So that was also, so let me give an example. Let me see if I have that with me. I really should have. Let me see. I'm trying to find the one about the coloreds and the colored Republicans. So back during Reconstruction, and you can find, I think, a little bit about this, especially if you join the fair, on the website, about the carpetbaggers, okay, coming in from the north to the south and finding all of the, you know, Black leaders and stuff and convincing them to take on the status of colored, okay, and to gain franchise rights as Republicans. So the original Republic, the people, were the free inhabitants. And they were joined, okay? So it's so interesting because they make it seem like, oh, the Black people joined the white folks. No, the white people, a part of the original Republicans, were allies to the colored people, because the perfect union here in America was between the free inhabitants that were being colonized, those that are called colored, okay, and the settlers that were establishing their colonies and government here, okay? But so yeah, so that's what we see in these situations. It's like when we got into this political landscape, we had to leave our indigenous identity behind, okay? Because listen, when was Reconstruction? The 1860s. That is when, are you guys hearing what I'm saying? So if in the 1860s, they were going around telling the indigenous people, the free inhabitants that they were calling Black, okay, because it was just us and white folks, who we know through Ancestry.com, okay, are the Americans, African Americans, and European settlers. They didn't call them American, okay, because American is an ethnicity, okay, per the definition, right, Webster's Dictionary, 1828. A native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America, okay? When we look at it, okay, and what in the 1860s, if they're going around telling all of the free inhabitants to call themselves colored and to take that on so they can get into the system, what else was happening? That's when they created Indian, right? So right when they were saying, you be this, they were like, we're going to be this. And that is the switching of the identities. And that's why American is now given to European descendants, okay? But we have every right to claim American, okay? We are literally the only Americans, okay, whose DNA ties to these lands, according to Ancestry.com DNA. So that's really what we're talking about. And hey, it was good smoke signal. Welcome. And so, oh my God, are they telling Australians to go back to Africa? So this is what I'm talking about. So the reason why they're using this go back to Africa story is because we're the only people here. They're like, finally, they want us to, if they can't get us to leave physically, okay, they will say, even in your minds, know that we just cannot be who we are. It's a huge problem. And that's what's so crazy about it is we have every right to be who we are. We, okay, are Americans. We're Americans. Okay. And it's about time that we, gather together and say that, hey, Black Americans, Black people, we have been here forever. We weren't brought here from nowhere. The people who got off ships, slave ships, okay, were the Europeans in different waves of colonization, over the past 400 or 500 years. But according to DNA, our DNA, we are considered the Americans. Thank you, Ancestry.com. And it's important that we do this because it's like, we can change the game. We can change the game just by being who we are. Okay. And that's really where I was going with thinking about like our politicians. Okay. Those who are, those of us who are, who have ties to, being here in America prior to, I don't know, the 1900s. What is the cutoff, you guys think? People who have been here. And what you'll find is that, because another thing with the Africa theory is because they don't want us, the whole "you're from Africa" comes with, you can't trace who you are because there weren't any records when all the records were about us. Now, mind you, they might drop off in a certain decade, in a certain century, because those were probably the first records that, that's when the colony got there. The records are attached to the colonial system when they started to document and register and put our names on these census records and things like that. Some of our families didn't subscribe to that. Why would we need to sign that? We have our land, we have our farms, we have everything we need. We don't need to get involved with whatever the heck whatever's going on with that. Which has been slavery since the inception. That was the whole entire reason of the Revolutionary War. Because the colonists, the settlers, were already enslaved from Britain. By Britain. And whatever other colonial powers these people came from. Because it's like, it wasn't just the British colonizing. The French were here, the Spanish were here, okay? People of German ancestry, Irish ancestry, and mind you, some of those people, the further back in the past you get, the darker their skin were too. Because, the indigenous people all over the world had dark skin. But this is deep. I'm getting everywhere. I feel like it's like, and we have the right to govern ourselves. Yeah, I mean that was the whole entire point. And I remember one time I had went to this an NAACP meeting locally, and it was a community member, and they were saying that the police had said something about like, you guys should be doing this for yourselves. Like, you keep asking us, because they were I guess this brother was asking the police to, basically get the community together. Just like even right now, we're like, some Black people are like, yes, we want Trump to come in here and declare national, martial law and clean up these streets and things like that and stuff like that. But it's like, in all actuality, like what the cop told this person was that you guys should be, taking care of and organizing your own communities. You keep asking us to do things for you, and we don't want to. Okay, you know what I mean? And so I agree with you, old head. Mm-hmm. Exactly. But yes, it's been an hour. I love you guys so much. I gotta get going. I will see you soon. I'm not gonna say anything else like we should do. No, I'll just see you soon. I think that's perfect. And you guys, please like the video, share, check out the fair, check out the merch. You can share those videos on the website or the YouTube with family and friends. If you guys have any ideas of how our fair content through the website or through YouTube could be improved, please contact me at christianstillhall@gmail.com. or leave comments. Let me know. And if you guys have any expertise in creating this content, please message us. And I'll see you guys all soon. I love you.
Long before the first European ships arrived, the original Americans lived, thrived, and built civilizations across these lands. But history has stripped them of their identity, their land, and even their nationality. Who are the original Americans? The answer should be clear, yet for centuries, their identity has been erased, rewritten, and denied. We stand to change that. Our foundation is built to uplift, protect, and restore the rights of the original Americans. With our fair original American identifiers, we help reclaim what was lost, ensuring that recognition, rights, and resources reach those who rightfully deserve them. It's time to honor the past, fight for the present, and build the future. Join the movement. Reclaim the truth. Support the original Americans.